Welcome to the Wyncode UXUI webinar. For the top 5 questions that I often get asked from UXUI students, whether you're coming to Wyncode or you've graduated another boot camp or you're just looking to get into the UX field. Again, my name is Gessica Tortolano. I'm the head instructor at Wyncode for the UXUI Immersive Program. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. I have a few slides. So let's just jump into it here. Top 5 questions all UXUI students ask, and even more than UXUI students. So number 1, what is UXUI? Can you believe this? A student would actually come in and say, I'm coming to your program. What is UXUI? I hear it all the time. Totally not unusual. So, and then I would ask, well, do you know the difference? But let's talk about the definition of UX/UI. UX is a problem-solving framework. It puts the user at the very heart of the process. It's anticipatory, it's purposeful, it's delightful to interact with, and most importantly, and here's where the UI comes in, it is aesthetically pleasing. When we break that down a little bit more, on one side, we have user experience. UX stands for user experience, by the way. How it works is more the UX side. It is how the process works. It's the experience behind the process. On the other side, UI is more how it looks. It is the experience with which the users engage with. One of my favorite examples of a company that did it very well on both angles, and not just from the digital aspect, but also the physical. Rest in peace, Virgin America, because they did sell to Alaska Airlines, but I still hold this product so dear to my heart because not only did they create a wonderful digital product, but they created it in a way that really adapted to the UX side. What was the process? What are the pain points? And if you look over to the lower right-hand screen, you see that that's actually a physical piece of paper that they UX'd. And I love that because they show you how to fold it so that it works for you the best at the moment you're at the airport or at the gate. So it's really taking those pain points into account, which is the UX side. But just to clarify, UX is not UI. Hate to break it to you guys, but that is a fact. So let's look at that a little bit more. Heinz, I don't work for Heinz, but I did choose their product to demonstrate the difference between UX design and UI design. UX makes interfaces useful. As you see, after many years of designing the ketchup bottle the way that it was, where you had to hit the 57 to get the ketchup to come out, well, that was great UI design at the time, but UX on the left here, where you can actually squeeze the bottle now, and it's actually placed upside down to get the most of that ketchup. Great example here, demonstrating both UX and UI. So, and again, just to sort of drive this point home, what's the difference? Again, UX design comes first. So you see in the illustration here, although I wish I could flip this because then I would put the wireframe on the left side and the mock-up on the right-hand side. But you see that that's really an architectural blueprint. And then you have the colored-in version on the other side. So UX starts with wireframes. It helps users accomplish goals. UI design is always done second, or sometimes. So, but it really is there to make that emotional connection with the users. And the reason why we have sometimes in parentheses is that I personally have had a lot of experience with starting from the mock-up, so from a comp or from an idea, and then we kind of go back and we reverse engineer things. That's not the best way to do it, by the way, but you can adapt and work with your team on that. Okay, so that was question number 1. Looking forward to any follow-up questions on that, which we'll pause here and there to fit those questions in. But let's keep moving here with number 2. What kind of qualities or skills should I have? People always ask. And then I'll ask them, well, what's your background? If your background is, you know, you're just that type of person that you're very curious, you're collaborative, most importantly, you're empathetic toward your users and your businesses. If you're creative or artistic, if you're a problem solver. But the most important thing quality that you should have to get into UX is to be user-centered. And that means putting the user at the heart of the process, like we talked about before in the UXUI definition. So another question that comes up a lot is, well, how could I apply my previous experience or my prior role to UX? And the answer is most likely you can. Some things are more related than other things, but I will tell you in my experience that I have worked with UX designers or information architects back in the day, that's what we used to be called, that came from an archaeology background. So you would think, well, what does that have anything to do with UX? But it actually is very applicable because you're digging for answers, you're connecting pieces together. Developers make great UX students or employees as well, because developers can bring those ideas to life. One thing though that I usually see in the developer world is that they usually don't have time to take all those user needs into account. So again, it's a great matchup, great background. Graphic designers, definitely a really good matchup. You want to defend your design decisions. UX will provide you with the means to do that. And then psychology, because it is all about human behavior. So psychology plays a huge role in this world of UX UI. Okay, the next question in our top 5, number 3. People ask me this. In San Francisco, I used to do panels at General Assembly, another accelerator program similar to Wyncode, and they would say, what should my job title be? Well, I'll tell you, I've been in this business for a while. I started out when the discipline really started in the 90s, and I'll admit, we have an identity crisis. So there's a lot of different jobs out there, titles. And one of the things that I'll ask is, well, where do you feel that you fall in the UX UI spectrum? So I have this slide here that sort of demonstrates 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 11 different job titles that fall in the UX UI spectrum. So anywhere within the digital product design process, you could kind of fall into one of these areas. Traditionally, people kind of fall in the UX designer role. Now, as the digital product design industry sort of advance, we start to want to kind of group that role in with other types of roles. So research, you could be a UX researcher, a strategist. You could be a web designer, so that's more on the other end of things. Interaction designer, visual designer, or even a front-end developer. If you can do all of those things, and that's what we call end-to-end product design, then you may fall in the top part, which is UX UI designer or a unicorn. Now, I am not a fan, I can't even believe I put it on the slide, but the term unicorn, not a fan of it because they are mythical creatures and there's a reason why they actually don't exist. The reason why I'm not a fan of a unicorn is because if we are looking to move from waterfall to agile, if I am the person responsible for everything, then did I just create waterfall with myself? So I'm waiting for me to hand off to me to hand off to me. Just a little side comment there, just wanted to make that clear. But all of these other terms are fine, and don't get hung up on your job title. It will probably change within the next few months or a year or something. So I've kind of accepted that over the years. I've had many different titles. Okay, second to last question here. What tools should I use? Often the way I respond to that is, well, it's important to know what the market is looking for. So look at job descriptions. Do you want to know what the industry standard is? If you want to kind of set yourself apart, I think that's great. Always know the industry standard. The two tools that I see most common in job descriptions is the designer must know Sketch and InVision. And that to me is the industry. Those are the two industry standards that I would start with. In my past, I've used, it started with Visio, went on to OmniGraffle. So all of those things, just like our job titles, they advance and they evolve. The other two that I've put in here are Adobe XD and Principal. And unfortunately, Principal is only for Mac. Sketch is for Mac as well, but Figma is almost exactly the same and is a great replacement if you're a PC designer. Now, the other two, say hi to Vanessa. Hi, Vanessa. Oh, good, you're on. Great. Okay. I was wondering. So Vanessa is one of my I guess officially future students here in the next cohort. So I'm super excited that you've joined in. Thanks, Vanessa. The other two, like I was saying, Adobe XD has just started to come out with a lot of auto animations. It is a great tool for page-to-page screen flows as well as animations and transitions. There are a ton of tools out there. So I gave a little shout out here to Marvel, Axure, Just in Mind. I will be honest, Balsamic, in my experience, it's a little bit of a career killer. Sorry, Balsamic, but we'll get into that maybe in a different webinar. We also have Studio, Flinto, Keynote. You can do amazing things in Keynote with transitions. A lot of people don't know. Framer, very high learning curve, but very effective. And then Webflow and Origami. So those four are really my favorite. And it ultimately comes down to what are you trying to demonstrate? What are you trying to show? Is it screen-to-screen flows? Is it interactions? Is it sort of the wow factor for your clients or some sort of pitch presentation? The combination of any of these can work very well for you. And then I don't want to forget sort of the lo-fi analog Sharpies and Post-its. We would not survive in this classroom, and any of my former students or even former colleagues will tell you we wouldn't be able to survive without Post-it notes and Sharpies. So don't forget to always go lo-fi on that. Okay, and then do I need to know how to code? Last and final question. So this question comes up quite a bit. I would ask you, are you a unicorn? Although you know how I feel about unicorn, but right now that's the term that people can understand. So the answer is no, you don't actually need to know how to code to be a UX/UI designer. That would be a front-end developer or a back-end developer for that matter. But, so there's always a but, right? Coding will set you apart. If you actually take that on, it will give you a huge advantage. It will make you a lot more marketable, and it will provide you with knowledge that tells the team and your employer that you know what is feasible and what isn't. So if you're not aware of the technologies that will allow you to create, useful interfaces, you really need to know technically what's possible and what isn't. And obviously that will give you a ton of respect in your team as well. More reasons. If you learn how to code, you will probably get a higher salary. And I'm not making that up. I know that for a fact through former students. You also could be known as a one-stop shop. And that could be, depending on what you want in your professional career, it could, again, give you a huge advantage and set you apart. It will definitely make you more marketable. So there are many reasons to learn how to code. In fact, every industry is a tech industry. Did you know that there are over 550,000 open jobs in the tech field in the United States right now? So that just goes to tell you it's probably worth learning how to code even just a little bit. Another fun fact, Did you know that Google, Apple, and 12 other big companies out there have no longer require a college degree? So this is where, and I'm a huge fan of trade schools or vocational schools. Kind of dating myself a little bit. I went to vocational school in high school, but having a trade is so important. And the fact that now you can, attend an accelerator program like Wyncode and go and get hired at Google, at Apple, or at IBM is amazing, because it really comes down to how are you going to handle the challenge, the design challenges? How are you going to do in your interviews? What value are you bringing to the company? So this is really exciting for us. And those are all the questions. I think that maybe what we'll do is we'll pause here for a second, because I'm not sure if the questions are coming up here.
Go through them and answer. Yeah.
I think those are just all waves and comments. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to throw them out at me, because now I'm actually able to read some of the questions here. And just wanted to mention that the next UXUI immersive program I'm excited about is that the new classes for next year will be 10 weeks long. So we're really excited about that. And okay, let's see. We have a couple questions here. Are you looking for instructors? I am the head instructor. We are often looking for extra help with teaching assistants. If you're interested, we are still interviewing for that, for those roles. And it's always great to have outside perspective come in and help us out, especially if you work in the industry. Okay, my email. You want my email address? Okay. Yeah, sure. No, it's so easy. It's, well, sort of. It's Gessica with a G, Gessica at wyncode.co. So just make sure you get the .co there. And then there's also the general one here too. We are at wyncode.co. So you can also feel free to email us there. Okay, let's see here. We have another question. Can we get code classes even if you have never coded before? Okay, so we run two programs here. Sorry, I'm like looking in the computer to see how I can move my hair, and it's the other side. We have two programs here at Wyncode. One is for web development, and these are full-time programs, by the way. Web development and UX UI. I believe with web development, there is no prior knowledge. You can go from 0 to developer in 10 weeks. Same as with the UX UI program. Obviously, it helps to have some relevant background there. It will give you, an advantage in the class. Okay. How much is Wyncode? How much is Wyncode? So the price, I believe, is the price the same for the full-time programs? The cost for the 10-week full program is $15,000, and that is and you also can apply for financing through. I believe it's Climb, right?
Yes.
Climb is the financing company that we work with. So $15,000, it's a 10-week program, and when I say it's immersive, it is intense. So just like my experience in the, yes, oh, perfect. So just like my experience in the real world, we work long hours. It is boot camps. I don't know if anyone out there has been in the military, but I've never been in the military, but from what I understand, it's not easy. So we're kind of similar. It's manageable. We actually have had moms in the programs before. They're able, people with families, and for sure it's a balance, but it's actually real world. The other two things I want to mention here, since we're talking about the military, is that we have a GI Bill for veterans, and that's super exciting because it's allowed a lot of people to go through the either web dev or UX programs in the past and even upcoming. The other thing that we have to help you out with that tuition number is a Women in Tech scholarship. So Wyncode is very dedicated to leveling the field for gender diversity. So this was one of their, it's amazing, it's on our website, one of the articles where Wyncode is very committed to leveling that playing field. And so we have a Women in Tech scholarship now. Yes, Vanessa says she loves that financial support that Wyncode offers. And I'm so glad that, Vanessa, that you were able to come to the UX/UI class. Vanessa is somebody that has been to many of our events here in South Florida. By the way, we're in South Florida, I'm sure most of you know that, but if you're tuning in from a distance, well, you might be missing out on some very beautiful weather right now. Okay, so we have another question here on Instagram. FASA is accepted to register for a program, question mark. Not sure what FASA is, not up on my acronyms here. Maybe it's like financial aid, FSA.
Student financial aid. Yeah.
Student financial aid. We don't accept student financial aid, unfortunately. But like I just walked you through, there's 3 really good options out there. And so we're excited that Wyncode has invested in the ecosystem here in South Florida, but we have people join in from all over. We have had people from Baltimore, from California. Have we ever had any Europeans?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we may have even had people come from, oh, of course, Latin America, Brazil. Yeah, I think that, you know, we offer quite a bit here at Wyncode to help people get their first start in, for example, user experience. So versus me, who started back in the 90s and really had to work through many different roles, many different job titles, like I was saying, so many different job titles. But the most important thing is that you know, this is the beginning of the journey for people. You will for sure continue to evolve your skills. We have great numbers turnout from the past cohorts in terms of job placement. But just so you know, just to reiterate, the first class of the new year, 2019, is going to be January 7th, and that goes for 10 weeks. And a couple exciting things that we're adding in there is that we have now it's 10 weeks versus 8, and we are doing a couple really fun things with those extra 2 weeks outside of just a little bit more time. Is we're collaborating with our web development class. So this is a skill that you really need to know when you go into your future employer. If you can work and collaborate with your developers, you're going to get your product out there much faster. It will save a lot of questions, and it's really important to make sure that whatever you're creating can be handed off to the development team. So that is huge for us. We are not aware of too many other accelerator programs out there that do that. So we have 1 to 2 weeks of full collaboration with our web development class. So we have planned everything out to work accordingly. And you know, next year, January 7th, a new year, it could mean a new you. And the other thing that we're doing with that extra time is we're committing to 3 projects and a final portfolio. So what we really want to do is allow students to graduate from the 10-week program and hit the ground running, interviewing the very next day if you wanted to. So those are all possibilities that are now going to be made just a little more possible. We've always encouraged students to create their portfolios. We've always done 3 projects. Being a former hiring manager in San Francisco and hiring and building a UX team there at the company I was working at, I knew how important it was to have a certain amount of projects on your portfolio. 3 is sort of the sweet spot. 1 is not enough, 2 is meh, and 3 is really the sweet spot. So we have 3 full projects. Some of that, so at times we work on real world projects for the city of Miami. They've been an amazing partner in giving us different projects to work on. Those are real projects. The county of Miami-Dade as well. And the other projects, by the way, they're not fake projects. All of the data and all of the information that we collect is real. We use real users, we use real artifacts. And at any time, a student can feel free to go ahead and share that with whichever company we were tackling at that time. And there's been a couple different ones here. So, yeah, so, I mean, if there's any more questions, feel free to shoot them out there. Yay, the schedule sounds great. I'm super excited for Vanessa to come on. And for those of you who haven't applied yet, I should have had Vanessa here with me to talk about her experience going through the admissions process here. But for those who haven't gone through this process yet, by the way, application deadline for the January 7th class is December 26th. So you get to enjoy your holiday and then get right into it and hopefully submit no later than December 26th. So let's see, any other, I love everyone waving. I love the hand waves. Yay, wave, wave. Thanks everyone so much for tuning in. Feel free to shoot me any other questions, you know, going forward. You can email me since I shared the 2 different emails. We have an amazing admissions team here. Thank you, Francis. Christina from our marketing department, who had this amazing idea to actually do the webinar, which is a great venue to share some of this information with all of you out there in the Facebook and Instagram world. And you know what, one thing that we hear a lot of time is that we call it the Win Fam. And the Win Fam is a real thing. There is a family of Wyncoders, and it's so amazing when, and I use this organically, it's kind of like another one of the unicorn words in my mind. It's overused and unwarranted sometimes, but I would say the last cohort that was here at WinBase really demonstrated the real Win Fam. And the UX students were collaborating with the web dev, even though that wasn't formalized yet at that time. And it was just, and again, it was very organic, it was very seamless. They became almost best of friends automatically because they really respected what each of those roles can bring to the table. And it's so important when you go out there into the real world that you do respect each other and you respect the value that each other brings. So, so I'm looking forward to 2019 here at Wyncode and here in South Florida. If you're not from South Florida, please come and visit us here and enjoy a little warmth over the winter. So January 7th would be the perfect class for you to do that and take advantage of our amazing weather here in South Florida. So thanks everybody. Let us know if you have any other questions and stay tuned for the next Wyncode UXUI webinar. Bye-bye everybody. All right.
You are so